Welcome to Friendly Math 101. Today we're going to practice factoring trinomials. We recommend that you pause the video after you see each problem and try to work the problem out on your own before you check our solution. Let's go ahead and get started with our first example. We have the trinomial 2n squared minus 2n minus 112. The first step is to check to see what our GCF is. And the biggest number that goes into 2, and 112 is going to be 2. So that's our greatest common factor. We're going to divide it out of each of the terms, and we get 1n squared minus 1n minus 56. And now we're going to take that trinomial and we're going to use that box, or the backwards box, or reverse box, whatever you want to call it. First term goes in the first box, last term goes in the last box. We multiply those, and 1n squared times negative 56 will give us negative 56n squared. Let's go ahead and list out all of the factors before we even think of the signs. So 1 and 56n. We also have 2n, 28n, 4n and 14n. And lastly 7n and 8n. We're trying to find the combination of numbers that will multiply to give us a negative 56n squared and add to give us that middle term, negative 1n. The only one that will work is 7n and 8n, but we have to think that one of them has to be negative. And in order for this to add up to be negative 1, we have to make the 8 negative, because positive 7n plus negative 8n will give us negative 1n. We'll go ahead and fill out the remaining boxes with those numbers, and we're going to factor out the greatest common factor in each direction. So out of 1n squared and 7n, our greatest common factor is 1n. In our second column, negative 8n minus 56, greatest common factor is negative 8. And now let's take a look at the rows. 1n squared minus 8n, our greatest common factor is 1n. And lastly, the bottom row, our greatest common factor will be 7. Therefore, our factored answer is 1n minus 8 times 1n plus 7. It doesn't matter what order those are in. And we can't forget about our greatest common factor, so that needs to be a part of our final answer. Let's take a look at our second example. So we have the trinomial 2p squared plus 17p plus 30. We're going to check to see what our greatest common factor is. And on this problem, the greatest common factor is going to be a positive 1. Whenever your greatest common factor is positive 1, we could go straight to the box. So first term in the first box, last term in the last box, multiply those together. 2p squared times 30 is going to give us 60p squared. So let's list out all the factors. We have 1 and 60p, 2p and 30p, 3p and 20p, 4p and 15p, 5p and 12p, and the last one's going to be 6p and 10p. So we're trying to find the combination that multiplies to give us a positive 60p squared, but it has to add to give us that middle term, positive 17p. So on this problem, the only combination that works is going to be positive 5p and positive 12p. Luckily, we don't have to do anything with our signs because we're trying to get two positive numbers. And so we're just going to work with positive 5p and positive 12p. Let's go ahead and fill out our boxes, and we're going to factor out the greatest common factor in each direction. So in that first column, 2p squared and 5p are our greatest common factors, 1p. Here it's going to be 6. Out of 2p squared and 12, it'll be 2p, and the bottom row is going to be a positive 5. So our factors are 1p plus 6 and 2p plus 5. And that would be our trinomial completely factored. Let's do one more example. So here we have 30x squared minus 24x minus 6. We first check to see what our greatest common factor is. On this problem, our greatest common factor is 6, because that's the biggest number that goes into 30, 24, and 6. Divide it or factor it out, we get 5x squared minus 4x minus 1. Remember, with the box, you're using what you have in the parentheses. You're not using the original problem. So our first term is actually going to be 5x squared. Our last term is negative 1. Multiply those together, we get negative 5x squared. The factors of 5 are 1x and 5x. So we know one of them has to be negative because it has to multiply to give us that negative 5x squared. And we also know that it has to add to give us negative 4. So we have to figure out, is it 1 or is it 5? And in order for it to add up to be negative 4, it has to be the negative 5. Factor out your greatest common factor in each direction. In that first column, 5x squared and 1x, the greatest common factor is 1x. In the second column, negative 5x and negative 1, we're going to go ahead and factor out a negative 1. 5x squared and negative 5x. We're going to factor out 5x, and then at the bottom, we're going to factor out a positive 1. So our answer is 1x minus 1 times 5x plus 1, and we can't forget about our GCF. So we did factor out that 6 at the beginning, so let's make sure we include that as part of our answer. Well, that concludes our lesson for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below. And for more math tutorials, subscribe to our channel, Friendly Math 101.